Hello, this is Gareth from Creative Conners. Today, in this short video, we're going to get started with Spikemark. We're going to take a single motor, connect to it over the network, and then run it manually to confirm that the encoder is working properly. Alright, I've just opened up Spikemark, and I can see here that it's added a single motor for me. That's what it does every time I start Spikemark. It gives me one motor and one cue. I'm going to go ahead and add an additional motor by right-clicking in the cue grid and saying Add Motor. Now I could have just as easily gone up to the Stagehand menu and said Add Motor there and given myself a third motor. The only reason why I want to do this is I want to point out that whatever motor is selected here, which you can see with the orange highlight around the column header, is the motor that will be edited in the editing window to the side. So if I select motor 2, we can see here that we've changed to motor 2 parameters. I'm going to take motor 1, and this is the motor I want to work with today. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to connect to it. I know that my stagehand is actually at 192.168.10.100 today. So I'm going to type in that IP address and press the connect button. Now it tells me it's connecting. I can see here in the column header that there's a yellow indicator light that tells me that the network connection is not yet established. A gray symbol means that it is idle, that it's disconnected. Yellow is connecting. Red means that there's an error, that we weren't able to connect. But what we really wanted to see was green, which would show us that we, of course, have a good network connection. Now this is a slightly contrived example because I knew that this wasn't going to connect today. I wanted to do this just to point out the most common problem we see when trying to get a motor connected for the first time. I'm going to go into my network connection panel. If I go to control panels, and then there should be something in here called network, or network and sharing, depending on which version of Windows you are using. We're using Vista today. Local area connection, that's my wired connection. I want to view the status. Now I want to hit the properties button, and I have to give it permission to do what I want to do. And we can see in here the Internet Protocol version 4, TCP/IP v4. That's us. We want to take a look at the properties of our network card. And here's the culprit. Right now it's set for obtain IP address automatically. Now that's the normal thing you'd want to do if you were connecting through a router or through a broadband modem or something to the internet. We of course don't want to do that. We want to connect to our motor, and in order to do that we need to use a static IP address. So we'll say use the following IP address. And now the key here is we've got to exactly match the first three sections of this number. So 192.168.10. And now I'm going to physically click into this last field, because if I don't physically click into it, it will continue to add numbers into the third field. So I click into this field, and I'm just going to punch in 20 today. Doesn't really matter. It just needs to be a unique address where the first three fields, 192.168.10, have to match my stagehand, and then this last number has to be unique on the network. I'm going to press Tab just to let it fill in the subnet mask for me. That's good. Hit OK. Hit OK. Hit Close. Close my control panel window. And now, if we try to connect, we should be able to. And look at that. So now with the IP address correctly set on my computer, I can connect to that stagehand without any problem. So my network status says connected here. I can see that I have a green status indicator here and here, which indicates that both my reverse limit and my forward limit switch are clear. That's mirrored in the cue grid, where here I get the motor name, I get the network status indicator, which is the circle. The left facing arrow is my reverse limit indicator. Green means clear, red would mean that it's struck, and then gray would mean that we don't know what it is because there's no network connection. Right facing arrow is forward. The color code is, of course, the same as it is with the left facing arrow, or the reverse limit. Underneath that window, I have this little icon here. This is the icon that tells me the status of that stagehand. This little heartbeat icon tells me that that motor is connected, but it's idle. So it's just kind of humming, sitting there humming along. You can see these motors both have a flat line indicator with a little exclamation point showing that they're disconnected currently. So this is idle, this is disconnected. Beneath that, I have a position number. This tells me that I'm at 0 counts right now. Since I haven't set up any other parameters, the computer is going to read everything to me in raw encoder counts. I'm going to expand my view a little bit here. Alright, so I've got my motor connected now, and with my motor still selected, I'm going to come over here to the motor editing pane. I'm going to start collapsing some of these properties down. What I'm looking for is the manual motor controls. Here we go. I'm going to select the forward direction, and then I'm going to ramp this slider up to turn it on and drive it forward. But first, I'm actually going to reopen my speed panel, because this will tell me how fast the motor is moving while it's under control, my manual control. Alright, so I've pressed the button, I'm ramping it up. We can see that we are getting good feedback from that encoder. The motor counts are going forward, they're getting bigger and bigger every second. That's just what we like to see. So now if I try in the reverse direction, I want to make sure that the encoder counts start going back down.